there's lots of McLeods in the cemetery. It's not really known who's related to who. But it's a bit like Sam Livingston. A lot of the early people were literate or semi-literate, and they would sometimes write their name differently. So sometimes Livingston's wrote with an E at the end, sometimes without the E, because apparently he would write it slowly, and sometimes he wrote differently. He would never let on he couldn't read or write. So sometimes you get different spellings because they weren't even using consistent names themselves when they wrote their name.
So many of these people, when you think of where they were born.
You're gonna get a lot of this. You're gonna get here shoulders, like again, probably a farm on the bow, and you'll see a lot of Mackays or Mackays on Mackay Point. That same thing. That was he was a ferry guy who ferried people across the Bow River, and he had a Mackay Point. And Shoulders was near them. Then again, what you have here on the side of this Mayhood, you have another Stanley. Because again, all these people would have been intermarrying. The Stanley, like Stanley Park, and the Mayhoods and the Shoulderses. Again, we're only talking a few hundred people, a few thousand people maximum when they died. So it was a very small pool of people. And they all probably knew each other, liked or didn't like each other.
Some different directions.
Does anyone know Discovery Ridge area? That's the Griffiths, Griffith Woods, right here. So you got Griffiths, you got Shoulder, Stanley, Patton, all these names, places in Calgary when you come up here. And we won't walk today out here too much. Same thing as you walk through, you won't know this name, you won't know this name, but oh, here's one here. And if you're good with your phone, which I'm not, Googling is even you walk through sometimes. You can Google these names as you walk through Calgary and just see if there's something that kind of jumps out. So you wonder if Patton and Griffiths, if they ever knew each other. Probably did. Maybe they traded cattle or something like that. Oh, the other thing is,
What's this?
98% of the graves, the markers are on this side because you're buried this way with your feet to the east. The idea is on Resurrection Day at the end, when Jesus comes, you see the sunrise
From the east.
from the east, so your body's reconstituted, you rise up and you join Jesus. So that's why 90% at least are always facing towards the sunrise. At least in Christian cemeteries. I don't know if that's elsewhere or not, but that's the pattern.
Africa is the same.
Yeah.
What's this one?
What about this structure?
Yeah. You go to the K country, there's Creek. Yeah,
Which
there's-
one?
Yeah,
Oh, it says
Which creek?
Creek. Quirk.
Crook.
Oh,
So
It
they
says
were-
right there.
oh, there you go.
There's something to do with, they were businessmen in Calgary, but before that they had ranching interests out in K country. So some of the things in K country they named. Anyways, this is the only mausoleum in the cemetery, the only one that's like this. Again, very plain, not too fancy. So they're buried above ground. In 1990, someone broke in here and stole the skull.
Oh no!
I know.
Whoa.
And they got it back, so it's back in there. But it's sort of one of these little things in Calgary.
That's
Whatever reason, someone did that. And the other thing with cemeteries is On the seedier side, cemeteries, often you get homeless people hanging out too.
Yeah.
So this is every cemetery in the world, trust me. I don't care, you go to Egypt, you go to London, you go to Paris, people will camp out or lay out or be out in the cemeteries. Here it's not unusual to find beer bottles or liquor bottles and that around these areas, just to let you know. But that's not Calgary. Calgary's probably pretty minimal at it, you know. It's everywhere in the world.
In Africa,
I'm
they
actually
don't. They're
surprised
too
how famous,
superstitious.
Yeah,
The cemetery.
It is.
it's a good comment. Yeah, that's right.
They're afraid of ghosts.
That's an other name. Peter Lougheed.
Yeah, exactly.
Ray, there's a Curry tombstone, as in Curry Barracks.
I don't know. It's a good question.
There's
Yeah,
a Curry over there.
I don't know. I've seen that before. I'm not sure if it's related. Yeah.
I wonder.
Is Curry, what nationality is Curry?
Slovenish?
Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah, General Curry, World War One.
Not a common name. I
No,
don't know.
okay, our main. He's our number one general in the war, First World War. So we go out to K Country again along the road, Highway 1. You got Lougheed Mountain, Mount Lougheed. And of course, Peter Lougheed, Premier, just died in 2012. Or probably one of our better premiers, I would think. As far as the natural history, you can disagree with him as far as politics, but he's the guy who really gave us Canada's country, is Peter Lougheed. He's the one, he had all his oil buddies, Calgary had Alberta had a lot of money, and he's the one who really set aside today what we have as Canada's country. That was his baby. And his idea was, we have all these beautiful national parks. We have Banff National Park, we have Jasper, the most beautiful parks in the world, but they're for the world and to preserve. Peter Lougheed's idea with Canada's country is that's for Albertans. Doesn't mean other people can't go there. But here's our backyard, and here's a place for Albertans to go in K Country. And nearly all the facilities that you see in K Country, from the paved road going through it, Highway 40, to the visitor centers, to the campgrounds, that was all done under Peter Lougheed. And the golf course, which I don't like, but that was his idea too. But again, his idea at McLean Creek, off-road, and there's a contrast. You have a golf course, and you have off-road. His idea was K Country's for everybody. This was the idea. You give something to everybody in Alberta for a reason to go.
It's very visionary.
Whether you're a wealthy business guy to go play golf, or you're the guy who wants to run around his dirt bike, Canada's just belongs to you. This was the idea, with designated areas. So today we have, there's Peter Lougheed Provincial Park within K Country. So K Country is not a provincial park. People often confuse that. It's a zoned area for use. Then within K Country, there's Spray Lakes Provincial Park, there's Peter Lougheed Provincial Park. I don't know if Elbow Falls, Bray Creek is a park or not, but those are designated areas, parks within K Country. So again, whether or not you like Peter Lougheed, he's a conservative, the ultimate conservative in that sense, but as far as his vision for, I think, Alberta, the outdoors, I think he was a little ahead of his time. And if it was for Peter Lougheed, I'm sure a lot of the area today would be probably like cottages, development, and more hotels, and it wouldn't be what we think of when we go out there. It's just nice to look towards the mountains, know that's Kananaskis. And when I get out there, if you're like me, half the time I don't know where I am because it's so big. And you just kind of follow this trail, this road, this whatever, and it seems like a whole little different world out there sometimes. Develop, but not too developed. That was his vision of K Country.
What's the name behind the name? The story behind the name.